Talking today with Dr. Sean Dorney, well-known ABC journalist, expert in Pacific affairs, and the recipient of multiple Walkley Awards. But today I want to talk to Sean about something different in his life, his sporting career. In the 1970s, Sean was the captain of the New Guinea Rugby League team. So Sean, how is it that a small white man that looks more at home playing carpet bowls ends up as the captain of the New Guinea Rugby League team?
Well, it came as a surprise to me to be captain, I can tell you, because I was the only expat in that team in 1976. And we had a sort of vote as to who should be captain. And I thought it was incredibly presumptuous if I had said, oh, look, guys, don't vote for me. So I had no inkling that they were going to vote for me. And so when it happened, I was absolutely delighted, I might say, because it was a huge honour to captain a national rugby league team, and it was, it was great. Unfortunately, I'd played for 2 years for PNG in 1975 and 1976. In 75, we played in what was then called the Pacific Cup, which was against the New Zealand Maoris and two of the lesser states in Australia, Western Australia and Victoria. And I actually got my jersey for that game for that series was number 15. But after the first game, I ended up playing halfback for the rest of the 3 games. And amazingly, when the whole tournament was over, they elected a team of the tournament, and I ended up being the halfback.
I see.
The team of the tournament, which was also, a huge honour. But the only test match I could have played, real test match I could have played, was against Great Britain. But unfortunately, after that Pacific Cup, myself and Simon Sack, who was a front row footballer for the team I played for, Parga, and he was the heavyweight boxing champion of PNG. We were the 2 of the guys selected for the national team, whereas the Hanna-Barbera Hawks side, which had won the premiership in Port Moresby, sort of the top competition in Moresby, Hanna-Barbera Hawks had quite a number in the Southern Zone team. But when we went out to play in the interzone trials, they all had shockers. And so there wasn't a single Hanna-Barbera Hawks guy selected for the Cummels.
Okay.
So after we finished the Pacific Cup, the first club game back, it was Parga against Hanna-Barbera Hawks. And for some reason, these Hawks guys who were so furious about missing out on the national side, even though they'd won the premiership the year before, they decided not to pick on Simon Sack, the heavyweight boxer.
Okay.
But
They
they did collect me, and I ended up with a dislocated neck. And the doctor in Moresby advised me never to play football again. But so I jumped on a plane and went down to Townsville, where my father was a surgeon at Townsville and the honorary doctor to the Townsville Rugby League. And he got me in to see a specialist neck sort of doctor. And they gave me exercises to do, and I went back, and within a month or 2 I was playing again, and the following year I ended up being captain of the Cummels. But while I was out with my buggered neck, the Cummels played against England, so I missed out on the only real test match I could have played.
Game, yeah. Sean, in terms of the social context of that, as you say, you were the only expat, and you had a fairly diverse nation in PNG. I don't know a lot about it, but I imagine it's fairly diverse. Was it a political team that was selected? Was there representatives from each district, or how did?
Yeah, the way it operates in PNG, or certainly did back then, is that you had 4 zones in the country. There was Southern Zone, which was basically just Port Moresby, because the Moresby competition was by far the strongest in the country. But then you had a Highland zone where they played in about 5 different places in the Highlands, and they all got together, those teams, and selected a Highlands team. There was a Northern Zone team, which was Ley, Madang and Wewak, and they all had separate competitions, so that was a combined team. And then the 4th team was the Islands Zone. That was Bougainville, Rabaul, New Ireland, Manus. So when you came to the interzone trials, there were 4 zone teams that played, and I played for the Southern Zone, which was basically Moresby.
So did you have to, when you were captain, did you have to manage that?
Look, I did a lot of talking on the field, and I think I sort of was all right at organising a defence. And what was terrific actually is the respect you got from the other players, and these guys were from all over PNG, all sorts of different parts of PNG. In fact, the club team I played for in Port Moresby, Paga Panthers, was made up of guys from the CPEC, guys from Rabaul, guys from New Ireland, and a few Highlanders. So we had and some Central Province guys. So we had a very sort of diverse team in the Port Moresby competition.
So I was just thinking, for Australian audiences, you played against a few well-known players, and particularly in that New Zealand Maori team. Can you tell us?
Yeah. The Sorensen brothers, Dane and Kurt, I think.
Kurt and Dane, yeah.
Kurt and Dane Sorensen were in that Kiwi team. There were also a number of other Maori players who went on to play for New Zealand. I can't remember the names exactly now, but I think that Maori team that we played against, I think there were 3 or 4 at least guys who went on to play for the Kiwis.
Yeah, that would have been a very, very strong competition, as it is now.
Yeah.
So rugby league occupies a particularly important role in New Guinea.
It does. It's the national sport, and it's got a fanatical following in many places. And when I was playing for Southern Zone, we used to have interzone competitions in different places, and the enthusiasm in places like Rabaul or the Highlands for the game is just phenomenal. And it was a great thing for me for my journalistic career as well, having been the captain of the Kumuls. It sort of gave her a certain sort of prestige in the country, which was
I noted this week when the Kumuls beat Fiji that the Prime Minister of New Guinea spoke very much about his favourite players, and the interest that he took.
Absolutely, and one of the highlights, I suppose, of being the captain of the Kumuls was that I got to introduce Sir Michael Samari, who was then the Prime Minister, to all the fellow members of the Kumul team, which was So nice.
Another aspect of that, within your journalistic career, was access to other sporting, just the credibility that it gave you.
Oh, it did, and dare I say it, but I was quite well known in PNG.
It wasn't just because of football.
No, well, Look, I really look back on that playing for the Kumuls as just one of the highlights of my life. Actually, I really, really sort of, and whereas some people were suggesting that I'd be left on my own, I wouldn't, that being the one white guy in the team, that
Do you think they noticed?
The others' team certainly noticed. Yeah. But look, I before I went to PNG, I mean, at school I never had a great footballing career. The best team I made at school, I went to Nudgee College. The best team I made was the 16Bs. And in my final year at Nudgee, I was in the 5th. And
I shouldn't be interviewing you.
And you can imagine the quality or the rugby league knowledge of the Christian brother who trained the fifths and the sixths.
Was it a male?
Well,
It had to be, yeah.
well, I went to him at one stage as halfback for the fifths and said, look, Jimmy Chow at 5'8", number 10. Look, I think it'd be best if you switch us around and put him at halfback and me at 5'8", because his passing is pretty good, but his catching is so hot. And this Christian brother took my advice to an extent and moved Jimmy Chow into half and dropped me to the sixth. So once I left school, I actually had a lot better career than I had at school.
Did you model yourself on any players? I mean, were you running halfback, tackling halfback, good kicker?
Look, one of the things I could do was tackle. Yeah, I was I prided myself on my. Are we going? I prided myself on my ability to bring people down, and I never went high because of my height and whatever. I always found that tackling people around the knees was a very effective way to bring them down.
So we know now that there's talk about Papua New Guinea becoming the 18th team in the NRL.
Yep, I think it'd be terrific.
Well, for why? Why would it be terrific?
Well, it'd be terrific for the country because it's got such a following there, and if there was a PNG team in the Australian Rugby League competition, it would just send a surge of pride throughout the country, which, PNG needs, actually. But the real question is, where would they be based? And I've heard suggestions that they might find it a little bit difficult to attract Australian players, and I think you'd need, if you had a PNG team in the national competition, I think you'd need 3 or 4 Australian Rugby League players.
Well, if you take the Warriors,
yep,
and I was lucky enough to see the first game of the Warriors against the Broncos, but they've been in the grand final twice, but they've never won.
Yeah.
And they've been going since, 1995, 1996. And that's a good, strong base of rugby league players.
Yep.
The problem with PNG attracting in the early stages, that's going to be the issue.
I think you're right. That would be an issue. There would be a fair bit of money that would get behind it, because companies like Oil Search in PNG, I think, have been supportive, and the government there would be incredibly supportive of a national team, PNG team playing in the Australian competition. So I don't think money would be a real issue for it, because there are quite a number of companies in PNG that have a bit of funds behind them.
Right.
So I don't think funding would be the issue. I think the trouble would be attracting a sufficient number of non-Papua New Guineans to play in the team to sort of, get it up to the standard that would probably be required.
So the alternative that people are talking about is this Pacifica team, where...
Well, that makes a lot of sense too, doesn't it? I mean, if you look at the recent competitions, even the Cook Islands have been quite a time and quite a team, and I mean, you could have a terrific Pacific Island team at Pacific, and that might be easier because, given the reputation of Port Moresby, I think there'd be people who'd much prefer to come out of Fiji or come out of Suva in a football team than out of Moresby.
Possibly. So in terms of what you said before, Sean, about it being a highlight of your life, and it would be a highlight of anybody's life to captain a national team, how does it compare with fairly glittering career that you've had in journalism?
Oh, well, I mean, the common thread of the two is Papua New Guinea, actually, because I really made my name as a journalist, being a correspondent in PNG, because I don't think Moresby was incredibly attractive to a lot of Australian ABC journalists. So the ABC allowed me to, be the journalist in Port Moresby for 12 years straight. And that was after I'd spent 5 years there, and I got deported, and then they let me back and spent another 12 years as the ABC correspondent.
And you could have had a glittering career as an economist.
Yeah. Well, 2 years studying at James Cook University, I was so concerned to do it that I did first year twice.
It's a racist standard, we know that.
Yeah. No, I had a much better football career at James Cook than I did an academic career. I played for we had a two university teams actually, University Gold and University Blue. I played for Uni Gold, and for 2 years running, not only played for the University Gold, but made the Townsville under-19 team.
The North Queensland at that time was a good competition.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. And they called the Mullen Shield was the under-19 competition.
Yeah.
And we won that 2 years running.
Yeah. No, there were some players. I remember teaching at Charters Towers, and we had to play a Townsville side, and we were a pretty good side, but they gave us an absolute flogging.
Yeah.
So, look, it's been a great pleasure to talk about these things. Are there any other highlights of your involvement with rugby league, or did you become involved after you left?
Yeah, not only rugby league. I actually played rugby union here in Brisbane. When I was a cadet at the ABC, the West's rugby union field was just around the corner.
Yeah.
There, and so I went down and played, and eventually ended up playing 2 years first grade for Wests, and alongside people like Bobby Woods and Stan Pilecki, who both went on to play for Australia.
Indeed.
So
which did you prefer, the league or the union?
I preferred league. I found that union I didn't have as much time. In fact, when I was playing first grade rugby union for Wests, Jules Gerasimov was towards the end of his career, and he was a breakaway for university.
Right.
And he used to say to people, God, I hate playing against Wests. Every time I break from the scrum, I think I'm going to kill that skinny bit. But then...
Jules Gerasimov, that brings back a few.
Oh, yeah. And well, he became, quite a friend, actually. Yeah. And a great player. But that was right towards the end of his career.
Right.
Yeah.
Any advice on people going to New Guinea, wanting to play sport in New Guinea?
Oh, look, anyone who goes there, if you're young enough and whatever, capable, you should play, because I got tremendous camaraderie out of playing football. And one of the things that, I was warned against is that, oh, mate, you'll be left on your own. You won't, if you get into trouble, you're going to be left. But it wasn't like that at all. I found that I got on exceptionally well with the people I played with, and that was not only, for the club team, but also the Southern Zone team, and then the national team. And I had nothing but the highest regard for the guys I was playing with, and we got on really well together. And as I said, I was quite a talker on the field.
That's hard to believe.
I think that sort of helped as well. That encouraging people to keep going.
So,
especially
keeping going, which you've done successfully. How many in the team are still going? How many of that team are you in contact with? Did you know any of those people?
No, there was one fellow I did play with who was also an Australian, Billy Phillips, who I convinced. We had been to uni, played at uni together in Townsville, and then he came up to PNG because his family had spent quite a bit of time in Papua New Guinea, so he came up there and worked for the works department as a engineer architect, and Billy ended up playing for the Cummels as well. So that was a very, very firm friendship, which stays till the day.
Well, finish on a note. Swan, I want you to take us through, step by step, pass by pass, back up by back up, your finest moment playing for the Cummels.
Oh,
I know there's so many, but
yeah. I did score a try when we played against a divisional team from New South Wales. That was when I was captain of the Commonwealth.
Well, there are tries and tries. Take us through it.
I think I picked the ball up on the dead ball line and then sprinted, palmed off at 13 players and scored under the post. No, I was about 5 metres out and managed to scramble through and get over the try line, which was quite a delight, actually, to score for the National Rugby League team.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to Sean Dorney, legendary ABC journalist, Pacific Affairs and rugby league player. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you very much, mate.